Hello and welcome to Taking It to the Next Level, a Minnesota Collegiate DECA podcast where we will discuss the world of DECA and talk to professionals about what makes someone successful in today's world. I am the president of Minnesota Collegiate DECA, Zach Spone.
And I am your Central Region Vice President, Amy Barch.
Today we are excited to be joined by Mr. Josh Froelich. We share an alma mater as we both graduated from Sauk Rapids Rise High School. Following that, Josh graduated from St. Cloud Technical and Community College with a degree in sales and management. During his time at St. Cloud Tech, Josh was an accomplished DECA competitor, taking third place at ICDC. When his time had concluded in school, Josh gained employment at Marco Technologies, where he has worked his way up to his current position as a sales manager and a technology supervisor. Further, Josh spends some of his time as a competitive shooter. He is the current IPSC Shotgun World Champion. And additionally, in whatever free time he has left, Josh hosts his own podcast called Josh Froelich Addicted. Josh, welcome to the show, and thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. You guys are taking steps, I'd say, right out of the gate to get ahead of the game with podcasts and additional content creation. So it was kind of cool when you invited me to join you on the show for a conversation. I was like, oh, this is new. That's kind of cool. I'm glad you guys are taking steps to do something a little different.
Yeah, that was kind of the precipice behind this, I guess. We talking like this year's obviously going to be different for this officer team than any year in the years past, and we're just like, let's do something like this. I mean, and hopefully, we hope anyways that the officer team that follow us keeps doing this, because it's podcasts and content creation and things like this aren't going away just because hopefully one day the pandemic is over.
Yeah, well, and not only are they not going away, but they're great ways to get messages out, right? So whatever brand that you want to be affiliated with when you're done with school, or your personal brand for that matter, you can take that and run with it with podcasts and cool content and stuff that people want to consume. And if you do that successfully, you're going to be even more successful. So it's just a great general practice to get out of your comfort zone, put yourself in front of a camera, and throw some cool content out that people will consume.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit of trial by error and learning as you go, but that's part of the game and that's part of the fun as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, well, then I have a first question for you, Josh. How did you first get involved in DECA at St. Cloud Tech?
Yeah, so I took sales as a general. I was originally going and just getting my generals knocked out. I was planning on transferring to a 4-year to do a healthcare degree, something. I wanted to be a doctor originally. And then I took a sales class with Becky Shand, who's one of the instructors at St. Cloud, and she got me involved in basically the sales presentation class. She wanted, I had a presentation to do for the class, and it went well. And she's like, you should just do this DECA thing. She goes, it'll give you a good exposure. Business professionals will see it as you going above and beyond, and you'll be able to hone your craft a little bit, practice a little bit before you sit down, because you're going to be in business no matter what. One of the things people get confused about is they think that sales is like a business thing. Well, sales is life. Sales is communication. So an effective salesperson is selling ideas all the time. Basically, people that are that you agree with often are just great salespeople typically. And so in that class, Becky sold me on being a sales guy. And so I just ran with it and did the DECA competitions, kind of pursuing a gig at the company that I ended up at, Marco Technologies, because I knew that they got involved and had sponsorships and that kind of thing for some of the DECA events. So it was a natural progression once I got into sales and management into that area.
Sure. So the DECA career that Becky kind of put you on obviously went well. Like we said, you're successful at ICDC, placing nationally, everything like that. And then afterwards, you ended up at Marco, where you still work, I guess, now. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you ended up at Marco and what that story is like and how your career has progressed from there to now.
Yeah, for sure. So I ended up at Marco. Ended up meeting the folks at Marco when I won an award for the regional DECA sales competition, and it had a sponsorship with it from Marco to go to the national level if you wanted to go. And so the Marco guys were busy that day and weren't able to come and like present the award or the sponsorship. And so I got my suit on and cold called Marco the next day and went in and introduced myself to the folks that had backed that sponsorship financially, and just went in and just let them know, hey, my goal's always been to work at Marco. When I'm done with school, I'd like to work here and be one of your sales folks. I won this award. I just want to thank you for supporting the event. And I knew right away, they were like, you come on back. You got a job. If you got the guts to come in here as a college kid, all suited up and come in and cold call us, we'd give you a swing. And so that's pretty much how it shook out. Is I had interviewed more and I'd done some more stuff with different folks within the company, but that's where I ended up. I ended up where I wanted to go, and it was because of kind of a bold step as a college kid to just walk into the business you hope to work at someday and just ask for the people that are the hiring managers and just let them know that, hey, I'm not ready yet, but at some point I want to work here. Yeah.
Where does that confidence come from? Is that just is that just you, or is that something else? Is that DECA that did that for you? Is it life experiences? I know a lot of college kids, and I can't imagine very many of them that are going to cold call and walk into a place and say, hey, give me a gig.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was a non-traditional student like many tech college kids are. I had taken a few years and done, roughneck hard labor type work. And I just knew that I could do more than that. And I knew that, basically through hard work, I'd learned that, you hustle, you work hard, you ask for things, and then you deliver. And if you don't ask, you won't get. And so, there's a certain level of confidence that you absolutely have to have. Just in life, it helps you to be successful when you can ask for things, as long as once you receive, you can deliver. And so I knew I could. I had a little bit of track record in education and in the labor world, if you will, working hard. That I knew that if they give me a shot, I would deliver. And so I want the gig. I wanted the job. I wanted to go let them know. And an excuse to go knock on the door and go, hey, thanks for the award at the very least. If that was all we got to talk about, I'd be able to just say, hey, thanks. Much appreciated. This gives me an opportunity to go to nationals and do well there. And so it was there wasn't much on the line, at the very least, I'm just saying, thank you. They're going to come listen to that, so, it took a swing. It worked out. Yeah.
So what sort of skills, you said, you were a non-traditional student, you did some stuff in the labor force before that, you went to school, you did DECA, and now you are where you are now, you're a sales guy and you're technology advisor. What have those skills you've gained along the way, how have those made you kind of a good salesman in your eyes, or what makes a good salesman, I guess?
Yeah, well, I mean, first and foremost, it's all about grind. It's about being totally comfortable working, nose to the grindstone all day long, working harder than the people sitting next to you. In the labor world, when I was working in a foundry, and in the foundry, it was like, well, the hardest workers got maybe 50 cents or $1 an hour more. Well, I want that dollar if that's what I'm doing. And so, it was just, if anybody's getting promoted, it's me. I mean, that was the attitude I had in that role. And in sales, especially commission sales, it's like, well, that's direct. Like if I work harder than the person next to me, I get paid way more because I'm more successful. Even if it takes me more swings, even if I don't close as many deals, like have as high of a closing percentage, if I'm working twice as hard and have twice as many swings, I still do better. And so just that work hard, for the kind of the success, whatever it takes attitude. When you get into sales, I mean, it's about having swings. It's about getting opportunities. And if you don't have any opportunities, I don't care how talented you are, you're not going to sell anything. Well, the flip side, even if you're not that talented, but you have opportunities coming out of your ears because you're always meeting people, like, okay, now you got something. You can get kicked off, get started in your career just by working hard.
Yeah.
I've actually been reading a book recently about, it's called How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling. And it's kind of relating to this, I feel like, in a way. Do you find that if you relate to somebody who has a certain passion, do you use that to kind of decide like the final goal or product that they want and you relate that to them? Or how does kind of along those lines help you in selling an idea or an item to somebody, if that makes sense?
Sure.
That was kind of a tricky question, but
well, making things real and making things personal so that people can connect with their life experience is a big deal. Okay, so the more you can do that, where you're just totally real, you get people to kind of get out of that I'm in the sales pitch mode, and you just talk to them like normal people. You help them relate to real life experiences, whatever that might be, right? What was the last good decision that you made for your business, and how did that help your business? And you get them feeling, like you just start to get them open and starting to talk through some stuff with you. You relate that back to their personal lives, and you just be real with people. I think that's the kind of stuff that works. A greasy sales pitch doesn't. I'll tell you that. You just got to be real people that just talk to people and help solve problems. And I think that's the ultimate sales. And if you can have some and tie some of these business successes back to their personal successes, where it makes them real for them, that sure helps. Sure helps a lot.
Yeah, people definitely. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay. Yeah, I totally can see that. That's a really good outlook on that. And then also too, do you find like I know there's a difference between actually like listening to what somebody says and actually hearing what they say. What do you feel is the difference on that, and how you can have like a successful sales pitch between just listening to the person and actually hearing what they say?
That's good. Yeah, that's a good question. I guess it kind of depends what you sell, but at the same point, if you don't really know what they need, like truly understand it, you're never going to do a great job of selling what you have. Because again, if I have 5 different widgets or let's make it simple. Let's say it's a pen. If I have 5 different pens to choose from over here that are like my portfolio of products, and the customer's over here telling me all of these things that matter to them, how do I differentiate between the different things that I could potentially sell them if I didn't truly understand their needs? I can't. So then I'm just picking something, taking a swing, going, you want to buy this? And chances are good the answer is no if it doesn't align with their goals or their needs. And so really listening, and even digging a little deeper than they want to give you right out of the gate, so you can truly understand what their needs are and what the challenge is here that you're trying to help them solve, is how you actually win sales. Because a lot of people are just going, well, I've got these 2 options. Which one do you want? And it's like, well, no, I'm going to listen to all the details. I'm going to dig in even a little deeper, and I'm going to pick the perfect product, the one that solves all of those things. And then I'm going to tell you why that it solved this need and that need and this need. And then you just realize it's perfect because I actually listened. And so like really understanding the needs, you have to pay attention, and you have to even probably dig deeper than they're willing to give you right out of the gate. Asking some clarification questions, asking some whys. Things are important. You want to understand why it's important to them, not only that it's important to them. And then you can start to pick the solutions versus just throwing something at them.
So you mentioned like the whys. There is a big difference. For me personally, I've discovered that when I'm talking to somebody and I'm trying to sell them an idea, you want to almost avoid the what questions. You want to get to more of their why. What are your thoughts and ideas on that, between like the what questions and the why questions?
Yeah. Yep. So I'd say the what, I want to understand what they believe the challenge is. Okay. So that I can relate it back to my solution and show them how it fills that. And then I want to understand why that's the challenge, how long that's been the challenge. Has it always been that way, or did you make a decision that made it that way? So then I can truly understand the history of how they make decisions too. So I do want the what. That way I can, even if their mind isn't wide open to all of the other stuff that I'm talking about, at least I can show them, hey, here you go, this fills that thing you told me that you needed. But not only that, I can get deeper with the whys and understanding the history and that kind of thing. So I just want all the info. Like, I don't want to leave any of it out there. So like, I want it all. And then that way I can come back here and just wrap my head around it and determine how I solve all of that to the best of my ability with the solutions I have available.
Yeah.
That's great stuff. I think it's especially true that you need to listen when you're trying to get anyone to do anything for you, but especially when especially when they're trying to buy something from you, because people's BS meter is going to be at right here when you're trying to sell them something. So that's definitely true, and I think that's definitely informative. So Josh, I've heard you talk about your approach to networking a little bit, and I think it goes hand in hand with this a little bit as you're talking about sales. I've heard you say that you're kind of a self-described introvert. You're not someone that's really, you're not approaching everyone in the room saying, "Hi, I'm Josh. How's it going? What's going on?" No, that's not you. But that doesn't mean that you can't be good at, like we said, relating to people and finding out what they need and being good at what you do in sales. So how do you kind of think about networking and relating and talking to others as an introvert in those kind of environments?
Yeah, so a couple things. So in regards to networking, I believe leveraging a personal network, I can be totally introverted, meaning let's say I know you, we know each other, we've been on a few calls together. If you had someone in your network that I wanted to get connected to, I would just ask you, and then I would get a personal introduction, right? And so that's one way to leverage a network and grow my network. And then in that spot, I don't have to be the life of the party or an extrovert. We just have a good conversation. I'm capable of that, no problem, totally comfortable in that. The big room, 30, 300, whatever people in a room type networking is a totally different thing, right? Could still be the same way. I could walk up to you and go, "Hey, Zach, would you introduce me to this guy," right? Or that lady. And if you knew them, you would probably do that, and that would be relatively personal. I try to minimize the room. I don't need to meet all 300 or all 30 of those people. In fact, I'm not comfortable with that. And if I tried to do that, it wouldn't be very successful anyway. I'd rather meet a handful of people in that room and be selective about how I do that. Or if I know no one, which can happen as well, you just go to a generic event that is new to you and it's a new scene for you. There are a lot of folks that are uncomfortable in that room, right? And they're the ones kind of standing on the side, maybe taking a drink of their pop or nibbling on their snack tray. I'll go talk to one of them, and we'll have a conversation. And then other people will come over, and then all of a sudden the conversation's with us. And I was part of that foundation group that started the conversation, and I'm totally comfortable. So, there are a lot of ways that even though I'm pretty introverted in a social situation where I'm around a bunch of new faces, you can use some strategy, have some goals around it, ask and lean on your personal network if you have it there. Otherwise, find other folks that aren't exceptionally comfortable in that space too, and just go talk to them. And the group or the room will come to you.
Yeah, you bring up a good point for sure, Josh, about how not everyone in that room is an extrovert too. Not everyone in that room is going to be the happy-go-lucky, I need to talk to everyone too. There's a lot of people that are not going to be in that room and are going to be like, I just want to stand over here and, like you said, eat my snacks and maybe talk to one or two other people.
Right. Yep.
Amy, were you going to say something?
Well, I guess my question kind of got answered. I was just going to say, could you talk, you talked about being selective in who you talk to, when you're in a big setting. And I was just going to, kind of ask, how do you decide, or what is kind of something that you're looking for in a person to actually go up and make that connection and talk to them?
Yeah. So for me, in most of those type of events, I have a general idea who's going to be there before the event. Okay, so I can do some research. Sometimes there's even event lists, right, where I can just scroll through the list, especially in a business function, and I can see their role and the company they're with. Well, okay, if I'm a territory sales rep, which I am, it would make a lot of sense for me to meet people that are in my territory, so that, you know, I can actually, if we had a relationship, sell them something. Great. So I do a little reconnaissance work on the front end, get to know who's going to be there, go on LinkedIn, figure out, you know, who they are, what they look like. And those are the people that I'll pursue in that meeting. I'll just go introduce myself, and just go chat with them a little bit. And so that way I'm working toward a goal. And if the goal is successful, I have a good networking event in that scenario. Now I've actually worked towards something, and then I feel like I can take that on versus I need to meet everyone. I'm not comfortable with that. Like, it's just probably not going to happen. I'm not that guy. So I just try to have a plan.
So do you think that first initial cold call that you did with Marco really helped out now going up to people in bigger functions and talking to them?
Yeah, that kind of thing in general. You know, as a sales rep, business to business sales rep, when I got out of school, I was originally selling copiers and printers, and I was doing 40 to 50 cold calls a day, you know, for like years. And that's how my career started. So getting comfortable in that spot where some people are going to ask you to get out of there, you know, and some people are going to be like, yeah, you can't solicit here. And it's like, well, I'm not soliciting, but okay. You kind of get comfortable in that spot. And yeah, that thick skin, it was certainly, that Marco visit was a step along that journey for sure.
Well, and part of doing that is definitely learning to be okay with being told to buzz off sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's definitely sales, but that's life too, a little bit, to be honest.
Oh yeah. I mean, the worst they can say to you if you walk in and you cold call a business as a salesperson is, hey, you got to get out of here. It's like, yeah, okay, that's fine. See ya. Have a great day. You know, they can give you a lip, they can give you a bad attitude. And, you know, for me, I was always like, oof, you know, life must be hard. You know, if I'm the biggest problem in your day as a sales guy trying to grow sales for my company, you know, so I never, you know, there were days where I'd, you know, get 4 or 5 of them in a row and be kind of bummed out and be like, this is not my day. But in general, you got comfortable there. You get comfortable there, and sure does make, like you say, the rest of life easy too. You just, what are they going to say? No, okay, that's okay. Can handle that. No big deal.
Yeah. So a lot of people have somebody that they look up to, or kind of they ask a lot of questions to. Who kind of was your mentor or mentors in this process?
Yeah, so I had a direct mentor that I literally leaned on and asked for advice and did that kind of stuff. And that was Becky Shand, one of the instructors in the sales and marketing, sales and management group over at St. Cloud Tech College. And then within my career, I've had probably more of them that I just kind of watched how they did practice business. You know, one of the guys that I would reference as one of my business mentors, I've never really asked for advice or never really, I've never worked for him. I've never been on his sales team. But when I started my career, he had the big office in the corner and he was always on speakerphone talking to his clients. And he was just a good guy. You know, I never heard a greasy sales pitch. I never heard like the hard close. Like I never heard the stuff that, like, if you're not in sales, you think of as sales, or like what you might hear at the car lot. Like I never heard that stuff from his office, but he sold more than like everyone else at my company. And so I was like, that guy's just being him. He's just a normal guy and he crushes it. I'm like, that's what I'm going to do. I don't want to have some pitch or be the hard closer. Like I want to just have good relationships, have people trust me, solve problems, and just be me and be successful. And so for me, that was probably one of my biggest career mentors once I started my gig at Marco, just because I could see, all right, this person's exceptionally successful, makes a great living, does what he loves, has client relationships that he enjoys, and he's just a normal guy. So I can just be me, and if I work hard, I can be successful. And I don't have to have some shtick or some persona at work that's not me. And so then, since I had that realization, I actually enjoy what I do. I enjoy, sales. I enjoy business. And I'm the same guy at work that I am when I'm not at work. And that's good. I think that's important.
Yeah. It's sort of a cliche for sure, but it's a lot of success in business is who you know a little bit, and having those relationship building abilities kind of is really important. And a lot of that has to do with just being yourself, like you said, and you're not doing the sleazy hard close or the pitch, because like I said, that the BS meter is going to clock up here, and then they're going to be like, well, I don't want to have a relationship with you if you're not being upfront with me,
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've told salespeople, because I buy stuff too.
Yeah.
Like, I've told salespeople, I'm like, hey, just be yourself. You don't need to do the pitch. Like, I'm interested in the product. Let's just have a good conversation. You don't have to do that. And confused the hell out of them, because it was like, they weren't used to that. But I'm like, no. Like, I'm a sales guy. Like, that's not helping. We can just have a good conversation here. And if you have the thing that I need, I'll probably buy it from you. So I find myself coaching salespeople when I'm selling, or when they're selling me.
Yeah. So, Amy, were you going to say something there?
Yeah, you kind of mentioned this a little bit when you were talking about your mentors, but what is something that you should always look for in a mentor? Like, if I was seeking a mentor in something, what are some certain things or characteristics that I should look for in that? Because you don't want just anybody. You want to make sure that somebody is successful in what you want to be successful when you're looking at a mentor. Yeah. But there are also certain things that you also need to look for as well. What kind of would those be?
Yep. So first and foremost, they better be where you want to go. If they're not, they might not be the right person. Okay. So they got to be where you want to go. And not only that, you have to be able to relate with them from a ethics and values perspective, because if you don't, you're not going to do the same things that they did to get where they got. So I want to find somebody that we think alike, we act similar, and they're where I want to be. That's the big stuff, right? I want to figure out how they did it so I can do it too. And so that's how I'll pick them. And I think that ethics and values piece is missed often, where people are like, well, that guy's super successful. It's like, yeah, but are you going to do the stuff he did? Oof. Like, I wouldn't do that, and so maybe not the best mentor. But if you find someone super successful that you're like, oh, that person seems like they're doing it right too, and that's your personality, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Because people have told me before, like, you can get advice all day long from people. I could get advice from my mom on how to be like financially independent, but since she isn't, then it's kind of, why should I listen to advice from somebody who hasn't achieved that yet? So I feel like that kind of goes a little bit hand in hand, because you want to take advice and have mentors who are where you want to be and where you want to go in life.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, and maybe this is a weird question, but it definitely, as far as how people become your mentor, is a different kind of process, because it isn't going to be like, hey, you want to be my mentor? You want to show me the ropes here? It doesn't work like that, right? It's the relationship building that kind of goes along with that. So I don't know if you have, maybe you do, maybe you don't. You have an example of a relationship like that you probably, maybe you intended it to be like a mentorship, maybe you didn't, but that's what it turned into, something like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I have a specific example there, but so like the mentor I referenced for Marco, Eric, like, he never knew he was my mentor. I actually let him know after we had the last DECA call. I was like, hey, was talking to Trevor, who we had done that presentation together, and Trevor challenged me. He goes, "Hey, have you ever told Eric that?" And I go, "No, I haven't." He goes, "Okay." He goes, "When's the last time someone that you influenced reached out to you and let you know that you made an impact on their life?" I was like, I don't know if that's ever happened. He goes, "Wouldn't it be cool?" I was like, "Yeah, it'd be pretty cool. It'd let me know I was doing the right stuff." And he goes, "You should do that for Eric. You should tell him that, you kind of watched from afar and crafted the way that you pursue business based on some of the stuff you learned from him, even though he had no idea, even though we never had a lunch to discuss it or never had a big conversation on it." And so I actually told him that like a month ago or shortly after that conversation.
Yeah.
And he laughed and he goes, "That's news to me." He goes, "That's cool. Thank you for that feedback." But, so they don't have to like agree to be your mentor. You just pick people that you go, "Hey, what are they doing? Like, what are they doing that's helping them be successful?" And then you just emulate that. You just do those things. And that works too. And it could be everything in between. Or you could literally meet with somebody once a week and talk about, how to get to the place where they're at. Like anywhere in between could be a mentor relationship.
For sure.
So I kind of have a little bit of a question. This is kind of bringing up a question for me of people talk about all the times about their role models and their mentors. Is there really a difference in that? Because people are like, "Oh yeah, I look up to that person. Like they're a role model for me," but they don't really take much from that. They take more things from their mentors. Is there really a difference in that, or what are kind of your thoughts on that?
There might be in the dictionary, right? But for me, I look at it the same way, right? A role model would just be somebody that I want to model my behavior after, which is very similar to me to what a mentor type relationship would be. And so I don't see much variation between the two, right? If you've got something that I want to pursue and I want to become more like some of the behaviors that you're doing or the successes that you've had, that could be a role model, that could be a mentor in my mind. I think perhaps mentor is more engaged, the definition, like you're actually engaged with that person. So maybe in my example, Eric would have been more of a role model than a mentor, where Becky would have been more of a mentor than a role model because she just give me good active feedback. That could be, don't know, not sure, but I guess that would make sense.
Well, awesome. That's great stuff. And so in addition to your your career as a business, as sales professional, you also have quite a bit of stuff, not even on the side, I guess, but you have quite the personal brand for yourself. I know you're a competitive shooter. You're passionate about hunting, the outdoors, and you've built up, like I said, quite the personal brand for yourself. You have 15,000 followers on Instagram. You have your own podcast. How did that kind of come about for yourself? Is it just like a passion project and that's turned into something really cool like that, or is it something else? I guess I'm sure it's not just one thing.
It started as a very expensive hobby. Let's be real. So I've always been a competitive athlete most of my life, and when I was in sales, direct sales at Marco, right out of the gate for like the first 4 or 5 years, I felt like that direct sales filled that competitive void in me, where I was like going head to head with my competition, winning deals, losing deals. And I felt like that was super competitive. And then about 5 years into my career at Marco, I took a sales management role on, and I lost a little bit of that, where I felt like I was more disconnected from the actual play or like the actual competition and more in like a coaching role. And it had me looking for something to compete in again, because I was missing that big time. And so I've always enjoyed firearms and that kind of thing. And so I got into competitive shooting at that time, and like I said, expensive hobby. But I love marketing, and I love representing cool brands and doing sales. And so I was like, well, a lot of these companies that I use their products, they used to be, not anymore. I'm aligned with some really cool companies now that are great at marketing. But at the time I was like, these companies are terrible at marketing. Their websites are awful. Nobody knows who they are, but they have the best stuff ever. And it was like, nobody knows about them, except for the hardcore, like, competitive circle. And so I was like, well, I'm going to just call them, and I'm going to let them know that I could help them grow brand awareness and sales, because that's what I do for a living. And I'm also passionate about the things they sell. And so I just sold a bunch of companies that I could help them grow brand awareness and sales. And that's what I did. So that was maybe 7-8 years ago. I started doing some of that. And then now a huge part of what I do for a living is content generation, content creation, whether that's hunting space, competitive shooting space, anything like that, both on my channels, so the Instagram, Facebook, YouTube stuff, but more than that, I sell them or help them with organic content for their pages. So I've got my own video crews and editing crews, and basically I've got lots of content all over a bunch of different pages in the industry with some really, really big companies. And it's just become something that, again, started from sales, just raw cold calls on places that I wanted to be, and made that happen. And, you know, my sales career helped make all of that work, because I'm just, if you tell me no, that's okay. Like, I can take it. I'm a big kid, but I'm going to add value right out of the gate, and I'm going to help you as much as possible through my sales pitch, and I'll probably get you to come on board with me. And so had a really good run, and that grows every year too. So that's been a fun endeavor that started as a big cash suck, and now is the opposite. Now it's part of what I do for a living.
That's part of what I was going to ask you. Definitely doing sales for sure, and doing stuff that you do in DECA definitely allows you to put yourself out there more, and it probably allows yourself more opportunities, and you're going to learn to be okay with no, and that just makes it easier. And so this, like you said, it started out as a passion sort of thing for you. It's what you love to do, and that's what you would be doing anyways, probably. And then how much have you turned that into, you know, like not a job, because it's kind of a job, but not really if you're really enjoying it and it's a passion thing for you, is how I'm assuming you think about it. But how much of it has really turned into a career for you? I guess I'm not looking for numbers or anything, but like how does it divvy up your day, I guess, kind of?
Yeah, so today it's about on equal with what I do in my day job. Cool. So I've got my own business, and in that business, it's a marketing firm and consulting firm that I run all of that through, and the revenues in my business are pretty solid. So we do pretty good in that part of my business as well. So I'd say it all kind of blends together, but you know, I work probably way too much. You know, I'm from morning until the time I go to bed, I'm working on something. And it just kind of, wherever I need to spend time, I do, to make sure that everything that I'm working on is successful.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that if you're passionate about something, that's not a big ask or anything like that, to be working on something like that all the time. Like, I'm sure there are days that it's draining, but if it's something you really enjoy, as the cliche goes, you never work a day in your life. Well, that may be a bit of a fallacy sometimes. I think there's a lot of truth to it as well.
Yeah, there is. It's a little of both. Yeah, because there are certainly days where I'm like, oh, I should just stop doing this for the rest of the day. And that's at both jobs. But you know, I actually enjoy both of them a lot, or I'd probably get rid of one.
For sure. How did you get into podcasts, or how long have you been into podcasting? You have your own kind of show. I'm assuming it was something you did prior to the pandemic, and that's obviously how we started doing this, but that definitely is not going away, and it's been going on for a long time. What made you want to get into that and kind of do that sort of content creation? Because it certainly seems like the way of the future, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think, well, so most of my world at the time for content generation for my firearms industry work was on like Instagram and Facebook, 60 seconds at a time, short form content, pictures and short videos. And it's really hard to talk through complex ideas in 60 seconds or less, really hard. And not only that, but your audience doesn't get to know you. So like they get to know this little tiny snapshot versus a long form conversation like this. We can talk through a full idea. We can get an idea. You can talk around it. We can ask questions. We can get the why. You can go through all of that stuff because there's not like this end bookmark where it's like, okay, this is done. We're at 59 seconds. Well, we got to retake it because we took 61 seconds on this thing. We have to be able to complete the idea. And so I just got so annoyed with having my ideas have to take less than 60 seconds that the social channels were requiring. And I was just like, I'm doing an hour podcast. I'm just going to talk about whatever I want to with my buddies or, industry contacts. I'm going to talk no topic half the time, just get into whatever we want to get into. And the community gets to know you a little bit. And you can still express some cool ideas and some more longer form, complex discussions than you ever could in a 60-second Instagram post. So that's where it came from for me.
It certainly is kind of freeing in a way, isn't it? Because like you said, it's not short form, so you don't got to feel like you got to scrunch everything you have to say into that.
Yep.
And also prior, I mean, if you did want to do something long form and you wanted to do a content, you had to write it, and that's not everyone's jam, and it's definitely isn't. It's not going to appeal to maybe the audience that you're trying to get through as well. And I think that's something that's important to consider with with whatever content you're making. What's the desired audience? How are you going to reach them best? And I think that podcasts provide a really good avenue to reach a whole bunch of audiences that maybe wouldn't have been reached by sort of long form content before, and other audience that were into the long form kind of content written before as well. I think in a lot of ways it can be the best of both worlds.
Yep. So now I just do a little bit of all of it. Some long form, some short form, just kind of put it up all over the place, and whatever people like they can consume, and whatever they don't, that's cool. I mean, skip that stuff. I'm good.
Yeah, exactly. Without a doubt. Well, I think that's as good of a stopping point as anywhere else. Any parting words, Josh?
I would just say hustle, grind, work hard, right? I mean, if you are starting your career, there is absolutely nothing better than just working hard. Because if you work hard, even if you're not that talented yet or don't have the skills yet to be super successful, you'll have more swings than your coworkers and you will crush it. And so that's overlooked today. People want to develop the skill, develop all this polish and everything. It's like, no, get swings. Like yes, work on the polish, but get swings. If you have twice as many swings and half as much talent, you will sell just as much as the next guy. And so,
and that's how you get better at anything too, is by taking all those swings, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, before we sign off here, Josh, thank you for being our guest today. All of you listening should go out, follow all of Josh's social media, all the other cool stuff he told us about he's doing today. Check out the Josh Froelich Addicted podcast. As all of our listeners now know, you're doing some really cool things after leaving college, leaving our organization, and it was awesome to catch up with you today. And we really, really appreciate you sharing all your time with us today. So thank you again.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, for those of you watching, don't forget that throughout our series of podcasts leading up to state conference in February, our state officer team will continue to share their own stories and the stories of others surrounding Minnesota Collegiate DECA. I am your Central Region Vice President, Amy Barch.
I'm State President Zach Spohn. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to tune in next time. See ya.